Alright, I gotta be honest, Tekken makes absolutely no sense. And by Tekken, I don't mean the games are awesome. No, I'm talking about the tournament itself. The King of Iron Fist makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. How it's structured, the rules from year to year, like nothing adds up with this. I was originally going to title this video, Who is the King of Iron Fist tournament? But being honest, the answer to that is Jin. Jin's a piece of garbage, and I'll explain. So, going back to the first tournament, hosted by Heihachi, Kazuya fights him in the finals, and he throws his father off of a cliff. This is a running theme in Tekken, as we all know, and Kazuya takes over the Mishima Zaibatsu. He then hosts the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2, in which Heihachi, who has somehow climbed up from the bottom of the cliff that he was thrown off of. By the way, why wouldn't he just go on about his business? Why did he feel the need to climb back up the cliff? But never mind, we don't need to ask these questions. Heihachi's indestructible, we don't need to worry about any of that. So he comes back, he fights Kazuya in the second Tekken tournament, and he presumably kills him after beating him and throwing him into a volcano. This death doesn't stick, by the way. Also note at this point that Paul Phoenix was a runner-up in both the first Tekken tournament with Kazuya and the second one with Heihachi. Now enter Tekken 3, about a good 23 years later, and prior to Kazuya's death in Tekken 2, he had conceived a child who is now a 19-year-old man named Jin Kazama. Jin fights in the tournament on Heihachi's behalf, and this is where things get squirrely, and this is why I say the rules of Tekken make absolutely no sense. So, the way the tournament was structured is, you fight in the tournament, all the fighters being in one place. It was gonna somehow draw out Ogre, who is an ancient fighting god who is looking for the energies of fighters to devour, whatever. And whoever defeats Ogre is the winner of the King of Iron Fist Tournament 3. This is all done for Heihachi and his whole evil plan of whatever he's trying to do. So, in the quote-unquote finals of Tekken 3, Paul Phoenix actually fights Ogre, and he defeats him. Paul beats Ogre in Tekken 3. Now, Paul leaves thinking he won the tournament, and Jin sneaks in like a thief in the night. I guess he was hiding behind the bushes waiting for his cue. And after Ogre transforms into true Ogre, Jin fights him and kills him. He defeats Ogre, and like nobody notified Paul that this man isn't done yet. They just let Paul just walk off. So what, did Heihachi just think that Paul had gotten rid of Ogre? Like, why did nobody go and tell him that he kind of needed to go back and finish this guy? He couldn't have gotten but so far. They just allowed Jin to swoop in and take Paul's kill and win the tournament, and that's just it. Jin's the winner. But it doesn't matter. Heihachi shoots Jin in the head, Jin transforms into the devil, he attacks his grandfather, he flies off into the night. Now we get Tekken 4, where the rules of this tournament are even more squirrely. So in the semi-final round, Jin is supposed to fight his father Kazuya. Also, it should be worth noting that Kazuya is back from the dead as well. Kazuya is supposed to fight Jin, but Jin is ambushed and shot down by the Mishima Zaibatsu before the fight begins. Kazuya is given a free pass to go to the finals to fight Heihachi, and this is where things get squirrely. In some story plots, it states that Kazuya actually won the tournament and proceeded to the finals. In certain texts and comic books and etc., it's also implied that Kazuya wins, but there are also some cases in Tekken 4 that makes it seem like Heihachi did. But there's also dialogue in the recent Tekken 8 DLC add-on, at least for the story, that yes, Kazuya is the one who won in Tekken 4. All of the events after Kazuya defeats Heihachi is not a part of the official tournament, in which case Jin wipes the floor with both Kazuya and Heihachi. I have a video on that, you can watch that another time. So Jin does not take a loss in the fourth tournament. So if we're keeping tally, Heihachi has 2 losses in Tekken history and 1 victory. Kazuya has 2 wins and 1 loss. Jin is 1-0, I guess, considering that he didn't really get to fight in the finals. I guess it's like not a loss, but a draw, a disqualification. Absentee loss, like I don't know how this counts, but Jin has not been defeated in Tekken as of yet. Now we get to Tekken 5, which takes place after the events of Hamaru. Again, check out my video on that if you are not aware of that ridiculous battle. After Jin flies off after beating his father and grandfather, the Jack 5s attack Hamaru. Kazuya leaves his father out to dry. They blow it up. Hahashi's presumed dead. No, he's not, of course. And the creepy guy locked down in the basement comes back to life after being presumed dead, and he takes over the Mishima Zaibatsu from the shadows and hosts the 5th tournament. The rules of this tournament is, you beat Jinpachi, you win Tekken 5. Jin gets to the finals, he fights Jinpachi, he beats Jinpachi, and he wins Tekken 5. So now Jin is 2-0 in Tekken history. We'll come back to this. The 6th tournament, 7th tournament, and 8th tournaments in Tekken history do not count, though if we're being honest, the 6th tournament doesn't happen because Jin mysteriously disappears, the 7th tournament doesn't happen because Heihachi is prematurely implied to be dead, of course we know how that ended, poor Kazuya, and the 8th tournament is cancelled due to the UN and everybody getting involved. Though I will at least say Jin made it to the finals of the 8th Tekken tournament, but he didn't win. And it serves him right, and this is why I say that. Going back, remember what I said about Jin sort of robbing Paul after Paul defeated Ogre, and then Jin snuck in and defeated True Ogre after he transformed, and Paul is nowhere to be seen? Not saying that Paul would have beaten True Ogre, but we never know because we never got that chance. As if he wasn't done dirty enough, what Jin did in Tekken 5 is even more despicable. In Tekken 5, Jin fights Warong in the tournament and loses. This is canon, people. Warong in Tekken 5 defeats Jin. What then takes place in Warong's Tekken 5 ending is canon. Not in tournament battle, Jin just shows up as Devil Jin, attacks Warong, and beats him within an inch of his life. Warong is presumably in a coma until like Tekken 6. Because Warong cannot continue into the tournament, they just allow Jin to take the spot of the person who he beat the hell out of, and now Jin gets to continue along and wins the tournament. How is any of this legal? Jin should not have been allowed to just swoop in and fight Ogre at the end of Tekken 3, especially considering he didn't beat Paul. Now here, he actually loses, he should be disqualified, but he comes back and attacks the guy he beat, and he's just given a free pass to go on through the tournament and fight him in the finals? If that's the case, how did Jin technically lose Tekken 4? He didn't beat Kazuya, he just didn't beat him when he was supposed to at the tournament. So by this logic, after he got attacked by the Tekken Force essentially, and Kazuya was given his free pass to fight Heihachi, could Jin have just swooped back in at a later time and fought Kazuya after the tournament, which he actually did? Is Jin the real winner of Tekken 4, considering the ways that he snuck victories out in Tekkens 5 and 3? So the two things to take away from this is, number one, Tekken 9, we have to have a tournament again. We're getting into Mortal Kombat territory where the tournaments almost mean nothing and they're pointless. There hasn't been a winner of a Tekken tournament in 3 games now. This has to stop. The second thing is, Jin is the ultimate con man, but he is truly the king of Iron Fist tournament. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below as to whether or not Jin is the biggest con artist in the history of the tournament, or if he deserves the victories and championships that he has. In any event, like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. You all have a good one, and I'm out.